Well, it's been a long time since I last posted a video. A lot has happened in my life in the last almost 3 years. I'm not going to get into detail on everything that's gone on, but I had left my now ex-husband back in April of 2019. And I moved in with my grandparents because I didn't have anywhere else to go. And about a month later, I ended up talking to this guy who I had met before because he lived across the street with his friend from where I was living with my ex-husband. And our daughters became friends. And then we got invited to his daughter's 5th birthday. And that's the first time I physically laid eyes on him. Like, I didn't know he existed. And so that's when we had first met. I didn't talk to him. I didn't really see him after that. Like, even with him living across the street, like, I paid no attention to him whatsoever. So, it was May, and he popped up on my Facebook news feed, and I'm like, I don't remember being Facebook friends with him. So, you know, I commented on what he had posted and whatnot, and it just kind of went from there. We had dated for like a week, and then we had broken up because I realized, you know, I don't think I'm ready, you know, to get like this heavy into a relationship when I just left. Like, at this point, it was like 2 months ago. And so we, you know, broke up. But what really scared me was we had this instant connection like I had never felt before in my life with anybody. And we just clicked. Like, we got each other. Like, I can say I fell in love with him rapidly, and it scared me to death because, like, I was dealing with a lot, and I was not expecting this, you know, this guy to have such a hold on me. Like, oh my God. So I ran. I totally, like, can't do it right now. Like, you know, maybe in the future. I don't know what the future holds for us, but right now I'm not in the right headspace to deal with these feelings, to deal with a new relationship. Like, I need to do me for a while. So, you know, we broke up. It was kind of a bad breakup kind of thing. He got pretty angry, and you know, I was like, okay, well, maybe I made a good decision because you're like so freaking angry right now. Like, dude. But anyway, to speed the story up. So this was 2019, and, you know, through that summer, you know, I went to Disney World with a couple of my girlfriends. We took our kids. It was a freaking blast. Then, you know, go through the summer single. Got a job as a swim instructor. Wasn't making enough money for what I was doing, so I quit. Then, I ended up getting a interview with Capital One for a stay-at-home position, and the position didn't actually, like, the training for the position didn't actually start till October Yeah, October. So, I had like a month where, you know, I didn't have to do anything because, you know, my job started in 30 days. So I was just chilling, whatever. I had downloaded Tinder. Tinder is not a good place. But I went on this date with this guy who was totally not like my type at all. But I was trying to broaden my horizons or whatever, trying to not be so close-minded. So we go see, it had just come out in theaters. And one thing about the guy that I dated before I went to Disney World, Mike was his name. He loved clowns. He had clown tattoos. He had Pennywise, the original Pennywise on his arm as a portrait. And, you know, I already knew all this. And so I go on this date. I meet him at the movie theater. First of all, I'm sitting there waiting on him. And he messages me while he's on the way. He's like, so are you going to be paying for your ticket? Or I was like, is this a date? Or are we just, like, well, if I have to pay, like, if you want me to pay for my own ticket, it's fine. But I'm not going to walk into the movie theater with you and be your date. Because what, WTF? Like, are you kidding me right now? So, I mean, I don't care if that sounds shallow. Like, you invited me on this date to the movies and you're asking me to pay? No, that's not how that works. So I'm like, no, like this, I'm just going to sit here, enjoy the movie, and that's it. So while we're watching the movie, like I had not really taken a second look at this dude, Mike. Like, I was trying to block him out completely. We did actually text here and there. It was like once every other month. So really like maybe twice the entire summer. But I didn't, you know, really think anything of it. But I was sitting in that movie theater and all of a sudden, like, not necessarily a picture of him just flashed in my mind, but like, I just started thinking about Mike. I'm like, okay, so, and then I got, you know, the butterflies and all that. I'm like, I need to get in touch with Mike, because maybe the time is right. I mean, it's only been a few months, but I'm sitting here with this douchebag watching a movie that I should be watching with Mike. And so we got into contact. This was about the end of August, early September. And that was all she wrote. Like, we, you know, went on a date. He took me and we walked around the river, James River, and I'm about to cry because I haven't gotten into what went on, but I just fell so in love with him. It's so crazy. Like, I've never felt that way about somebody in my life. Anyway, to make a very long story short, you know, we got together. Everything happened so quick. We got together. We ended up getting a house together. Lived there for a year and a half before we ended up getting the apartment that I'm in now. I ended up getting pregnant again. So this is my fourth baby, my third girl. She is the cutest thing ever. I swear to God. She's actually asleep taking a nap right now. So I decided to make a YouTube video after like, what, 2-3 years of being MIA. But anyway, so we're in this relationship And he was my world. He was my everything. I put him above everything and everyone, my friends, my family. He was my soulmate, and I just loved him so much. So you might be like, well, girl, why don't you express this to him? Like, let him know, like, aren't y'all like broken up or something? I'm gonna get into that. So he ended up, so we got together September 2019, like for good. And June of 2020, you know, COVID's going on and all that. And he gets really sick. Like, he thought he had the flu. He was throwing up and couldn't really breathe that well. And he's had asthma, so we kind of just thought it was his asthma messing with him. He was having like these chest pains, and he just felt like crap. Like, he just was sick. And so he went to this hospital over by our house, and they said, oh, yeah, it's your asthma is the reason why you can't breathe, and you have like a gastrointestinal thing. So it made sense for his symptoms. He didn't have COVID. So he was like, you know, take some Pepto-Bismol or some anti-nausea medicine, you know, that kind of thing. But then it kept getting worse, and to the point where like he would burp and it would literally smell like he just ate a pile of crap. Like, it was disgusting. And so I've always heard, and you know, always had access to Google, which is not necessarily a good thing when you're not feeling well, but you know, it's like bile that he's burping up, and that's pretty serious. So I was like, why don't you try going to a different hospital? So he did, and we found out that he had heart failure. And that was the beginning of the end. You know, he took it really hard because he had other young children too. Because like I said in the beginning, I met him because our daughters played together when we lived across the street from each other. And so he had other children, so he took it hard. And at this point, I was not pregnant. So we didn't have any children together at that point. And he ended up having to get what's called a PICC line in his arm. And it's basically a 24-hour IV. It goes directly, like, from his arm. He's had them in both arms. He had so many because sometimes they get infected. But it goes from the arm to the heart. And it was his left side of the heart that was so bad. His right side wasn't that great, but it was a lot better than the left. And so with that being said, you know, doctors and everything were talking about, you know, a heart transplant, or you have the option for LVAD, which is basically a fake left side of your heart. It's that, you know, it gives you 5 years of life. And that also, if you weren't on the transplant list to get a whole heart, that gives you time to be put on the list and wait. So you have like a good 5 years, you know, if you wanted to get on the transplant list. So he ended up, you know, he didn't want to get the LVAD at first. So we were like, no, don't want to get that. We just, you know, want to get the transplant. So he was working on being able to get on the list, because there's a lot of things you have to do. No smoking, no recreational drug use, no like drinking. You have to be a certain weight. And with the whole weight thing, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because he was this fit guy. Like, he was not fat by any means. he always, you know, was working out. He was like in good health before this hit. And he ended up starting to, because your heart can't pump fluid, you know, your kidneys and everything take care of that. You pee it out. And so his heart wasn't pumping good enough. And so he wasn't getting the fluid out. So it was a lot of fluid buildup. Edema is what they call it. And so his legs started swelling, all in his stomach. It looked like he was just eating everything and was just getting fat. But a lot of people don't know that was all fluid. Like, he could lose like 40 pounds of fluid in a week of staying in the hospital and getting diuretics, and look completely different. It's all fluid, and it just was too much for his heart to handle. So, you know, he did pretty well. You know, the first year, I ended up getting pregnant with my baby girl at like the end of August of 2020. So I had her April 20th of 2021, and that's around the time we moved into our new apartment, literally like 4 days before I went in for my C-section to have her. So we were getting all that stuff together, getting ready for her to get here, and he was just so excited for her, and it gave him hope, you know, to do whatever he could to stay alive, and be there for his daughter. And, you know, he did all right over the summer. We had a surprise birthday party for him because it was his last year in his 30s, and got his friends together. We, when I was pregnant with her, he took me on a really cool trip. We stayed in New Jersey because it was cheaper, but he took me around New York because I had never been, and it was just a really freaking good time, just enjoying each other before she got here. And let's see, the end of, after Thanksgiving time of 2021, he just started declining. And, you know, he wanted to be here for his son's 5th birthday and Christmas, and he did that. He wasn't in the hospital because he was in and out of the hospital quite frequently after November. And he was here for his son's 5th birthday, and he made it through Christmas. January got here, and he was, you know, still declining, like fluid buildup. He gained from June of 2020 when he got diagnosed until January of this year, 2022, he gained about 140 pounds of fluid. His heart just couldn't do it. And it turned out that you know, they could have done the LVAD, and he actually opted for it. The last couple months, he had opted for it, and it turns out, you know, they did a heart catheter to check the right side of his heart to see how it was doing, and it had gotten so bad that the LVAD was not an option. A heart transplant was not an option, and that PICC line medicine wasn't working anymore. So he decided he wanted to wean himself off of the medicine. And it would have given him about 8 months. But unfortunately, he ended up getting a blood infection. And that blood infection rapidly went to his brain, and he passed away January 31st. And you know, I've tried to be so strong for my baby, and everybody around me, they're like, oh, Christina, you're doing so good. I'm so proud of you. Like, I was expecting you to take it hard. But I'm the kind of person that can smile when I'm fucking dying on the inside. And this is killing me because even though we had our ups and downs, like it wasn't like all peaches and cream, as they say. You know, I mean, every relationship has its issues. But it was like a roller coaster sometimes. And, you know, the highs were really high, the lows were really low. But I love this man with all my heart. And he's gone. And I am not doing very well with it. Like, I haven't really allowed myself to come to terms with the fact that he's not on a vacation. He's not in the hospital right now. He's not coming back. And I haven't allowed myself to realize that fully. It just took him so quick. Like, nobody was expecting that. I had just seen him Thursday before he passed. And I was here the Monday when he passed away. But from Thursday to Monday, like, it just took him. He had a blood infection. And it like clouds your brain, so you're not really all here. So it was just a very different human being. And you know, like, every day is different for me. Some days are like, I deal with it better. Some days, like right now, talking about it, it doesn't feel real. And then there are other days where it's like kind of 50-50, like I'll be all right, and then I'll be out and about trying to, you know, stay out of the apartment so I'm not just wallowing in sorrow. But everything reminds me of him, and it makes me so angry because I can't get away from it. It's like, no matter what I do, like where I go, something reminds me of him, like going to the grocery store, seeing his favorite food or his favorite snack, or just being in the same grocery store that I, you know, would shop in when he was here. It just, like, a lot of people deal with death differently, and I'm not one to deal with it very well. I hold a lot in. I don't like people seeing me like this. So let's make a YouTube video of you crying for over 25 minutes. That makes sense. So that's been my life the last 2 years. Obviously that's not everything, but I don't really think YouTube will allow me to post more than an hour video. So yeah. Well, I'll do another video, I guess, of pictures throughout the last 2 years, since you know, this is getting to be a really long video. But anyway, hopefully I will see you guys in my next video.